You know your marriage is doomed when your wife schedules a PowerPoint presentation for new relationship paradigms after dinner on a Tuesday night. I'm sitting at our kitchen table, still in my work clothes, paint-stained jeans and a flannel shirt that's seen better decades, while Jenna clicks through slides like she's pitching a corporate merger. Nathan, I've been thinking about our relationship structure, she says, adjusting her designer glasses. Even at home, Jenna looks like she stepped out of a business magazine. Her auburn hair is perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, despite it being 8 p.m. We've been together for 12 years, and I think we need to evolve. I lean back in my chair, watching her navigate through what appears to be a 20-slide presentation. The irony isn't lost on me that she's using the same laptop where I store my renovation project photos to essentially renovate our marriage. Evolve how? I ask, though I'm pretty sure I know where this is heading. Jenna's been working late a lot lately, coming home with that particular glow that has nothing to do with overtime at her HR director job. An open marriage, Nathan. Think about it. We're both adults, we have needs, and traditional monogamy is so limiting. She clicks to a slide titled, Benefits of Relationship Flexibility. I'm not making this up. She actually has bullet points. I take a long sip of my beer, a cheap domestic that I know irritates her, and study her face. Jenna's always been beautiful, the kind of woman who turns heads at the grocery store and makes other wives nervous at block parties. Right now, she's practically vibrating with excitement, like a kid on Christmas morning who already knows what's under the tree. So, let me get this straight, I say, scratching my stubble. You want permission to sleep with other people. We both would have that freedom, she corrects quickly. There would be rules, of course. Complete transparency, safety protocols, emotional boundaries. She clicks to the next slide. Proposed guidelines. I scan the list, trying not to laugh. No overnight stays, no emotional attachments, monthly check-ins to discuss feelings. It reads like an employee handbook for adultery. You've really thought this through, I say. I have, and I think it could be amazing for us. We could rediscover ourselves as individuals while strengthening our bond as a couple. The thing about being a contractor is that you learn to spot structural problems before they become catastrophic failures. Right now, I'm looking at the equivalent of termite damage in load-bearing beams. My marriage isn't evolving, it's collapsing, and Jenna's trying to convince me that the creaking sounds are just the house settling. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. But here's what she doesn't know about me. I've been renovating houses for 15 years. When something's beyond repair, you don't patch it up. You tear it down and build something better. Okay, I say, finishing my beer. Let's try it. Jenna's face lights up like I just told her she won the lottery. She leans across the table and kisses my cheek, leaving a trace of her expensive lipstick on my skin. Really? You're open to this? Sure, but I want everything in writing. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. She practically bounces in her chair. Of course, I'll draft up an agreement tonight. After she goes upstairs to finalize the documentation, because of course she would phrase it that way, I sit alone in the kitchen, staring at the PowerPoint still glowing on her laptop screen. The last slide reads, New Beginnings, with a stock photo of a sunrise over a mountain. I open a new browser tab and start researching divorce lawyers. If Jenna wants to play games, I'm going to make sure I know the rules better than she does. The next morning, she presents me with a 3-page document printed on our good letterhead. It's titled Marital Relationship Modification Agreement and includes sections on permitted activities, communication protocols, and termination clauses. She's even included signature lines and a notary section. This is very thorough, I say, reading through it while she hovers nearby, practically vibrating with anticipation. I stayed up until 2 a.m. working on it. I want us both to feel secure in this new arrangement. I sign it with a flourish, right there at the kitchen counter. Jenna signs hers with the Mont Blanc pen she bought herself for her last promotion. She makes a copy for each of us, then files the original in her desk drawer like it's a mortgage document. So, she says, trying to sound casual while pouring her morning coffee into her world's best mom mug. When do you think you might explore your options? I don't know. I'm pretty busy with the Henderson renovation this month. What about you? She shrugs, but I catch the flush creeping up her neck. Maybe. There's a new guy at work who seems nice. Eric from the real estate division. Eric. I file that name away for later. Sounds great, honey. That weekend, we attend the annual block party on Maple Street. It's the same crowd as always, suburban professionals pretending their lives are more interesting than they actually are. I'm manning the grill, flipping burgers, and listening to Tom Henderson complain about his property taxes when I spot Jenna across the yard. She's talking to a guy I don't recognize. Tall, expensive haircut, wearing a polo shirt that probably costs more than my weekly grocery budget. He's got that real estate agent smile. All teeth and no sincerity. This must be Eric. Who's the new guy? I ask Callie Morrison, Jenna's best friend and the neighborhood's unofficial gossip coordinator. Eric Dorsey. He just moved here from downtown. Sells commercial properties. She takes a sip of her wine and leans closer. Drives a Range Rover. Divorced. Jenna's been showing him around the neighborhood. I bet she has. I watch them for a few more minutes. Jenna's using her flirty laugh, the one that's pitched slightly higher than her normal voice. Eric keeps touching her arm when he talks, those casual little contacts that aren't quite innocent. They're standing just close enough that anyone watching would wonder if something's going on. Nathan, Jenna calls out, waving me over. Come meet Eric. I walk over with a plate of burgers, still wearing my Kiss the Cook apron that Zoe gave me for Father's Day. Eric extends his hand with that practiced charm that screams sales professional. Great to meet you, Nathan. Jenna's told me so much about you. I hear you're in construction? Renovation contractor, I correct. I fix things that are broken. That's fantastic. I actually have a property that might need some work. Maybe we could grab a drink sometime and discuss it. Sure thing, though I should mention, I'm pretty booked up these days. Lots of projects that need my personal attention. Jenna shoots me a look that I pretend not to notice. Eric doesn't seem to catch the subtext either, which tells me everything I need to know about his intelligence level. Later that night, after Zoe's asleep and Jenna's in the shower, I find myself in her home office. It's not snooping exactly, more like a preliminary inspection. The signed agreement is right where she filed it, along with a folder labeled Personal that definitely wasn't there before. Inside, I find printouts of Eric's real estate listings, including his professional headshot and bio. There are also screenshots of text messages between them, dating back 3 weeks, way before our PowerPoint presentation. Can't wait to see you again, reads one from Eric. Last night was incredible, Jenna's response. Nathan's completely clueless. This is going to be easier than I thought. I take photos of everything with my phone, making sure the timestamps are visible. Then I carefully replace everything exactly as I found it. Back in the kitchen, I pour myself another beer and think about what I've learned. Jenna didn't want an open marriage. She wanted retroactive permission for an affair that was already happening. The whole PowerPoint presentation was just her way of making herself feel better about cheating. But here's the thing she doesn't understand about renovation work. Before you can build something new, you have to completely clear the foundation. And right now, I'm looking at a demolition job that's going to be very, very satisfying. I pull out my phone and start typing a text to my buddy Sean, who tends bar downtown and knows everyone worth knowing. Need a recommendation for the meanest divorce lawyer in Boston, someone who eats cheaters for breakfast. His response comes back within minutes. I know just the woman. Her name's Patricia Vance. She's expensive, but she's never lost a case involving adultery. Want her number? Absolutely. I save Patricia's contact information and finish my beer. Upstairs, I can hear Jenna humming in the shower, probably planning her next work meeting with Eric. If she wants to play games, that's fine with me. But she's about to learn that I've been playing a much longer game than she realizes. And unlike her, I actually know how to win. The thing about being married to someone for 12 years is that you know their patterns better than they know themselves. Jenna thinks she's being clever with her late meetings and client dinners, but she's about as subtle as a sledgehammer through drywall. I start paying attention to the details. She's been buying new underwear, the expensive kind that definitely isn't for my benefit. Her phone, which used to sit on the kitchen counter during dinner, now goes everywhere with her, including the bathroom. She started working out again, something she hasn't done since before Zoe was born. Most telling of all, she's being nice to me. Overly nice. Guilt nice. I picked up that craft beer you like, she says Tuesday evening, pulling a 6-pack of my favorite IPA from a shopping bag. It costs 3 times what I usually spend on beer, and she's never bought it before without me asking. Thanks, honey. That's thoughtful. I also made reservations at Romano's for Friday night. Just the 2 of us. Callie said she'd watch Zoe. Romano's is the fancy Italian place downtown where we went for our anniversary 3 years ago, the kind of place where appetizers cost more than my usual lunch budget. What's the occasion? Do I need an occasion to want to spend time with my husband? She's using her bright, cheerful voice, the one she reserves for difficult clients at work. I crack open one of the expensive beers and take a sip. Of course not. Romano's sounds great. What she doesn't know is that I've already called Patricia Vance and scheduled a consultation for Thursday afternoon. What she also doesn't know is that I've been documenting everything. The next morning, after Jenna leaves for work and I drop Zoe at school, I swing by the Henderson renovation project to check on my crew. The job's ahead of schedule, which gives me some flexibility in my day. I tell my foreman Jake that I'll be running errands and might not be back until afternoon. Instead, I drive to Jenna's office building downtown. I'm not stalking. I'm conducting reconnaissance. There's a coffee shop across the street with a perfect view of the parking garage entrance. I order a large coffee and a sandwich, claim a table by the window, and wait. At 11:47 a.m., Eric's Range Rover pulls into the garage. He emerges wearing a suit that probably costs more than most people's monthly rent, checks his reflection in the car window, and heads toward the elevator. Interesting. Jenna mentioned that Eric works in commercial real estate, but this is her building. Her company leases 3 floors of a downtown high-rise that houses mostly financial services and consulting firms. There's no reason for a commercial real estate agent to have regular business here. I finish my coffee and head back to the job site, but not before making a note of the time and taking a photo of Eric's license plate. That evening, Jenna's practically glowing at dinner. She's wearing a new blouse, silk, expensive looking, the kind that requires dry cleaning. Her makeup is fresh, like she reapplied it recently. "How was work?" I ask. "Busy. We're interviewing candidates for the new training coordinator position. Lots of meetings." "Anyone promising?" "A few. Oh, and I might need to work late tomorrow. We're having drinks with one of the final candidates." Zoe looks up from her chicken nuggets. "Can I stay up late too?" "It's a school night, sweetie," Jenna says. "Daddy will put you to bed." "Where are you having drinks?" I ask casually. "That new place on Boylston. Zinc Bar, I think it's called." I nod and change the subject to Zoe's upcoming school play, but I'm already planning tomorrow's surveillance route. Thursday afternoon, I meet Patricia Vance at her law office in Back Bay. She's exactly what Sean promised. Sharp, expensive, and ruthless. Her corner office overlooks the public garden, and her diplomas from Harvard Law take up most of one wall. "Tell me about your situation, Mr. Blackwell," she says, settling behind a desk that probably costs more than my truck. I explain about the open marriage agreement, show her photos of Jenna's personal file, and hand over copies of the text messages I found. Patricia studies everything with the focused intensity of a surgeon examining x-rays. "This is quite helpful. Your wife essentially created a paper trail of her own adultery. The signed agreement actually works in your favor. It shows premeditation and planning." "How so?" "Massachusetts is technically a no-fault divorce state, but adultery can still impact property division and alimony, especially when there's evidence of deception. The fact that she was already having an affair when she proposed this open marriage demonstrates bad faith." She leans back in her leather chair. "I assume you want full custody of your daughter?" "Absolutely." "That's very achievable, given what you've shown me. Continue documenting everything: times, dates, locations, expenses. If she's spending marital assets on this affair, we need records." I write Patricia a retainer check that makes my stomach hurt, but it's worth it. As I'm leaving her office, she gives me one final piece of advice. "Don't let on that you know anything yet. The more evidence we gather, the stronger your position becomes." That evening, I tell Jenna I'm meeting Sean for drinks. Instead, I park across from Zinc Bar and wait. At 6:15, Eric's Range Rover pulls up to the valet stand. He emerges wearing jeans and a blazer, looking like he stepped out of a cologne advertisement. Jenna arrives 10 minutes later in her Honda Accord. She's changed clothes since this morning, now wearing a black dress I've never seen before and heels that add 3 inches to her height. She hands her keys to the valet and walks toward the bar entrance. Eric intercepts her on the sidewalk. Even from across the street, I can see the way he touches her lower back as they walk inside together. It's intimate, possessive. The gesture of a man who's comfortable with a woman's body. I wait in my truck for 2 hours, taking photos when they come outside to smoke. Jenna doesn't smoke, or at least she didn't used to. But she's sharing a cigarette with Eric, standing close enough that their bodies are touching. They leave separately, but I follow Eric's Range Rover to the Marriott downtown. Jenna's Honda is already in the parking garage when he arrives. I don't need to see more. I drive home, arriving 20 minutes before Jenna walks through the front door. "How was your interview dinner?" I ask from the couch, where I'm watching a baseball game with a beer. "Productive. I think we found our candidate." She kicks off her heels and rubs her feet. "How was your evening with Sean?" "Good. We talked about his new girlfriend. Apparently she's married." Jenna freezes for just a moment. "That's complicated." "Yeah, I told him he should be careful. Married women can be dangerous. They have more to lose." She recovers quickly, but I catch the flicker of anxiety in her eyes. I'm going to take a shower and head to bed. It's been a long day. After she goes upstairs, I add tonight's photos to my growing evidence file. Patricia was right. Documentation is everything. Over the next week, I establish a pattern. Jenna has late meetings every Tuesday and Thursday. She works through lunch on Wednesdays, which coincidentally is when Eric's Range Rover appears in her parking garage. She started buying clothes online and having them delivered to her office. But the most damning evidence comes from an unexpected source. Friday evening, Callie Morrison shows up at our door with a bottle of wine and a guilty expression. "Is Jenna home?" she asks. "She's at yoga class. Come in." Callie settles at our kitchen table and pours herself a large glass of wine. "Nathan, I need to tell you something, and I don't know how to say it." I sit across from her, trying to look surprised by whatever's coming. She's been seeing someone. Eric, the new guy from the block party. They've been meeting at hotels, and she's been telling people that you know about it, that you have some kind of arrangement. An arrangement? She said you both agreed to see other people, but Nathan, I've known you for 8 years. This doesn't seem like something you'd agree to. I take a long sip of my beer, letting the silence stretch. Callie fidgets with her wine glass, clearly uncomfortable. "Did she tell you this directly?" I finally ask. "Last weekend at book club, she was bragging about it, about how she was having her cake and eating it too, and how you were completely supportive of her exploring her options." "What exactly did she say?" Callie's cheeks flush red. "She said Eric was the best lover she'd ever had. She talked about their hotel meetings, about how exciting it was to feel desired again. She made it sound like you were fine with everything." I nod slowly, as if processing this information for the first time. "Thank you for telling me, Callie. That took courage. Are you okay? I mean, if you really did agree to this, then I guess it's none of my business. But it just seemed so unlike you. I appreciate you looking out for me. And for Zoe." After Callie leaves, I call Patricia Vance's emergency line. "We need to move faster," I tell her. "She's getting sloppy, which means she's getting confident. Confident people make mistakes." "What do you have in mind?" "I want to file for divorce next week. But first, I want to make sure Eric's wife knows what's going on." "That's risky, Nathan. If you tip your hand too early, trust me, I know exactly what I'm doing." Saturday morning, I drive to Eric's address. Information that was surprisingly easy to find through public records. He lives in a modern townhouse in Cambridge, the kind of place that screams recently divorced guy trying to impress women. But the Range Rover isn't alone in the driveway. There's a silver BMW parked next to it. I knock on the front door, and it's answered by a woman in her late 30s with short blonde hair and intelligent eyes. She's wearing yoga clothes and holding a coffee mug that says, "World's Okayest Mom." "Can I help you?" she asks. "I'm looking for Eric Dorsey. I'm Nathan Blackwell. We met briefly at a neighborhood party." Her expression shifts slightly. "I'm Tina, Eric's ex-wife. Well, soon-to-be ex-wife. We're still working out some details." "Interesting. Eric told Jenna he was divorced, but apparently that's not quite true. I was hoping to discuss a renovation project with him. He's not here right now, but I can give him a message." I hand her my business card. "Actually, maybe you and I should talk instead. I think we might have some mutual interests." Tina studies my card, then looks at me more carefully. "You said Blackwell. Your wife is Jenna, right? The redhead from the block party?" "That's right." "Come in," she says, stepping aside. "I think we definitely need to talk." Tina Dorsey's townhouse is the opposite of my family home. All clean lines, minimalist furniture, and abstract art that probably costs more than my annual insurance premiums. She leads me to a kitchen that looks like it belongs in a design magazine, all granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. "Coffee?" she offers, already reaching for a second mug. "Thanks." She pours from an expensive-looking machine that probably has more settings than my truck. The coffee is perfect, rich and strong without being bitter. "So," she says, settling across from me at a breakfast bar that could seat 6 people, "how much do you know about your wife and my husband?" "Enough. How much do you know?" Tina laughs, but there's no humor in it. "More than I want to. Eric thinks he's clever, but he's about as subtle as a car alarm. New cologne, mysterious phone calls, suddenly working late 3 nights a week. The classic playbook." She takes a sip of her coffee and studies me over the rim of her mug. "The question is, what are we going to do about it?" "We?" "Nathan, I'm a forensic accountant. I investigate financial fraud for a living. When my husband started acting suspicious, I did what I do best. I followed the money trail." She disappears into another room and returns with a manila folder thick enough to choke a horse. "Hotel charges on his credit card. Dinner receipts for 2 at restaurants I've never been to. A jewelry purchase from Tiffany that definitely wasn't for me. She spreads the documents across the counter like she's laying out evidence for a jury. He bought her jewelry. A bracelet. $1,800. Charged it to our joint account 3 days after your neighborhood block party. I whistle low. That's a lot of money for someone he just met. Exactly. Which means either he's the most impulsive man in Boston, or this relationship started before that party. I pull out my phone and show her the screenshots I took from Jenna's folder. According to these text messages, they've been involved for at least a month, maybe longer. Tina examines the photos, her expression growing darker with each one. Look at the timestamp on this one. Can't wait to see you tonight. That's from 3 weeks ago, the same night Eric told me he was having drinks with clients. Jenna said she was working late that night too. They're not very creative liars, are they? We spend the next hour comparing notes. Eric and Jenna's stories line up perfectly. Too perfectly. Every work meeting Jenna attended corresponds to a client dinner on Eric's calendar. Every late night at the office matches up with Eric's mysterious absences. There's something else, Tina says, pulling out a different set of documents. Eric's been looking at real estate listings, not for clients, for himself. Specifically, he's been researching property values in your neighborhood. She shows me printouts of Zillow searches, all focused on houses within a 3-block radius of my street. There are notes in Eric's handwriting about square footage, lot sizes, and recent sale prices. Why would he care about property values in my neighborhood? Maybe he's planning to move there, or maybe he's planning to help someone else move there. The implication hits me like a punch to the gut. You think they're planning to live together? I think they're planning something, and I think we need to figure out what it is before they do something we can't undo. Tina refills our coffee mugs and leans against the counter. Nathan, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. Do you want to save your marriage? I consider the question seriously. 3 weeks ago, I might have said yes. Jenna and I had our problems, but I thought we were solid where it mattered. I thought we were partners. No, I say finally. She lied to me, manipulated me, and involved our 8-year-old daughter in her deception. There's no coming back from that. Good, because I'm done with Eric, too. He's been cheating on me for years. Jenna's just the latest in a long line of business associates who required his personal attention. She opens another folder, this one filled with bank statements and credit card bills. I've been building a case against him for 6 months. Hidden assets, undisclosed income, affairs that go back to the 2nd year of our marriage. When we divorce, he's going to lose everything. What do you need from me? Evidence that links him to Jenna. Photos, documents, witnesses. The more proof I have of his current affair, the stronger my position becomes. I think about Patricia Vance's advice. Document everything. I can do that, but I want something in return. Name it. When this all comes out, I want Eric publicly humiliated. I don't just want him to lose money, I want him to lose his reputation, his business relationships, his standing in the community. Tina smiles, and for the first time since I arrived, it reaches her eyes. Nathan, I think we're going to be very good friends. We exchange phone numbers and agree to meet again in a few days. As I'm leaving, Tina hands me a business card for a private investigator. Marcus Webb, she says. He's expensive, but he's good. Tell him I sent you. What kind of evidence can he get that we can't? The kind that holds up in court. Professional photographs, documented timelines, witness statements. If you're serious about destroying them, you need to do it right. That evening, Jenna comes home with Chinese takeout and a guilty smile. I thought we could have a family dinner tonight, she says, unpacking containers of our usual order from Golden Dragon. Just the 3 of us. Zoe perks up from her homework at the kitchen table. Can we watch a movie after dinner? Of course, sweetie. Whatever you want. I watch Jenna serve the food, noting how she avoids eye contact with me. Her phone buzzes twice during dinner, and both times she glances at it quickly before flipping it face down on the counter. Everything okay at work? I ask. Fine, just busy. We're launching a new employee wellness program next month. That sounds interesting. What does it involve? Oh, stress management workshops, fitness incentives, work-life balance seminars. She's lying smoothly, confidently. If I didn't know better, I'd believe every word. After Zoe goes to bed, Jenna suggests we watch something together on Netflix. We settle on a romantic comedy that she's seen before but pretends is new to her. Halfway through, she curls up against me on the couch. This is nice, she murmurs. We should do this more often. I agree, stroking her hair. It smells different. A new shampoo, something more expensive than her usual brand. Nathan? Yeah? Are you happy? I mean, with our new arrangement? I consider my answer carefully. I think it's too early to tell. These things take time to develop. Have you thought about exploring your options? Some, have you? She's quiet for a long moment. A little, nothing serious. That's good. We should take it slow. She tilts her head up to look at me. You're being very understanding about all this. I love you, Jenna. I want you to be happy. It's not entirely a lie. I do want her to be happy. Just not with my money, in my house, with custody of my daughter. The next morning, I call Marcus Webb from the job site. His office is in downtown Boston, and he can meet me that afternoon. Webb is exactly as I imagined, a former cop in his 50s who looks like he's been through it all. His office is small and disorganized, with filing cabinets that have seen better days and a coffee machine that sounds like it's on its last legs. Tina Dorsey says you need surveillance work, he says without preamble. Cheating spouse? Cheating spouse and her boyfriend. I need documentation that will hold up in divorce court. How long has this been going on? I give him the timeline, show him the evidence I've already gathered, and explain what I need. This is pretty straightforward, Webb says. Hotels keep security footage for 90 days. If I can get timestamps of their meetings, I can probably get video evidence of them entering and leaving together. How much will that cost? He quotes me a number that makes my eyes water, but it's less than I'd lose in alimony over 2 years. There's one more thing, I tell him. I want to know everything about Eric Dorsey. His business, his finances, his other relationships. If he's got skeletons, I want to know where they're buried. That'll take longer and cost more. Do it. I write Webb a check and leave his office feeling like I've just hired a demolition crew, which, in a way, I have. That evening, Jenna announces that she's going to a work conference in Hartford next weekend. It's just 2 days, she says. Leadership training for HR directors. I'll leave Friday morning and be back Sunday evening. Sounds educational. Callie said she could watch Zoe Saturday if you need to work. That's thoughtful of her. What Jenna doesn't know is that I've already asked Jake to handle the weekend shift at the Henderson job. What she also doesn't know is that I'm planning to spend Saturday following her to Hartford, because I'm willing to bet that Eric Dorsey is suddenly going to have business in Hartford that same weekend, and Marcus Webb is going to be there to document every minute of it. Friday morning, I kiss Jenna goodbye at 7:30 a.m. and watch her Honda Accord disappear down Maple Street. She's packed light for a 2-day conference, just an overnight bag and her laptop case. Her hair is styled differently, and she's wearing a new perfume that definitely wasn't in our bathroom yesterday. Have a good conference, honey, I called out as she loaded her car. I'll try to learn something useful, she replied with that bright, guilty smile. What she doesn't know is that Marcus Webb followed Eric's Range Rover out of Boston 40 minutes earlier, heading north on I-84 toward Hartford. What she also doesn't know is that I'm currently sitting in my truck 3 blocks from her office building, watching the parking garage. At 8:15, her Honda pulls into the garage. She emerges 5 minutes later carrying a different overnight bag, larger, more expensive looking. The kind of luggage you pack when you want to impress someone. She walks 2 blocks to the Marriott downtown, where Eric's Range Rover is parked at the valet stand. Through my telephoto lens, I watch them embrace in the lobby like lovers who haven't seen each other in months instead of days. I follow them north, staying 3 cars back on the highway. Webb was right. Surveillance work is mostly boring, driving punctuated by moments of pure adrenaline. But I've spent 15 years driving to job sites across New England. I know these roads better than most people know their own neighborhoods. The Hartford Marriott is exactly what you'd expect, a glass tower full of business travelers and conference attendees. I park across the street and watch Eric and Jenna check in together at the front desk. They're not even trying to be discreet anymore. Webb texts me their room number 20 minutes later. 1247, corner suite, registered under Dorsey's name. I spend Saturday documenting their weekend getaway, room service deliveries. A shopping trip to an upscale mall where Eric buys Jenna a dress that costs more than most people's monthly car payment. Dinner at a steakhouse where the wine list starts at $50 a bottle. But the most damning evidence comes Sunday morning. I'm having breakfast at a diner across from the hotel when I spot them loading luggage into Eric's Range Rover. But instead of heading back to Boston, they drive to a residential neighborhood 15 minutes outside Hartford. They park in front of a colonial house with a for sale sign in the front yard. Eric produces a key from his pocket. He's the listing agent. But they're not giving a tour to potential buyers. They're walking through the house like they're imagining living there together. I photograph everything through the front windows, Jenna in the kitchen, arms wrapped around Eric's waist, Eric showing her the master bedroom, both of them laughing at some private joke, The two of them on the back deck, Eric pointing toward the yard like he's describing where they'll put a swing set for Zoe. They spend 2 hours in that house, 2 hours planning a future that involves stealing my daughter and moving to Connecticut. Sunday evening, I'm back home when Jenna walks through the front door at 7:30 p.m., right on schedule. "How was the conference?" I ask from the couch, where I'm watching baseball with Zoe. "Informative. We covered some new approaches to employee retention and workplace culture." She kicks off her shoes and rubs her feet, a gesture that used to seem endearing, but now strikes me as calculated. "Learn anything useful?" "A few things. How was your weekend?" "Quiet. Zoe and I went to the aquarium yesterday. She loved the penguin exhibit." "That's sweet," Jenna ruffles Zoe's hair. "Did you have fun with Daddy?" "We saw the sea turtles, and Daddy bought me a stuffed whale." "That sounds wonderful, sweetie." Jenna settles into her chair with the casual ease of someone whose conscience is completely clear. She's gotten so comfortable with lying that she doesn't even seem nervous anymore. "Oh," she says, as if just remembering. "I might need to travel more over the next few months. The company is expanding our training programs to other regions." "Where to?" "Hartford, mostly. Maybe some other cities in Connecticut." I nod like this is perfectly reasonable. "That's great, honey. Career advancement is important." Monday morning, I meet with Patricia Vance to review the evidence Webb collected. The photos are devastating. Clear, time-stamped, professionally shot. Eric and Jenna entering the hotel together, shopping together, walking through that house in Connecticut like they're already married. "This is excellent work," Patricia says, spreading the photos across her conference table. "But the house visit is particularly interesting. Do we know anything about this property?" "Webb's looking into it. Eric's the listing agent, but that doesn't explain why they spent 2 hours there. It suggests long-term planning. They're not just having an affair, they're building a life together." Patricia pulls up the property listing on her computer. It's been on the market for 6 months. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, excellent school district. The kind of place you'd move if you had an 8-year-old daughter. The implication hits me like a cold slap. They're planning to take Zoe. It's possible. Connecticut custody laws are different from Massachusetts. If they could establish residency there, it might complicate your case. What can we do about it? File for divorce immediately. Request temporary custody and a restraining order preventing Zoe from being taken out of state. We need to move fast. That afternoon, Webb calls with more information about the Hartford house. "The property's been reduced twice in the last 6 months," he says. "It's overpriced for the market, which means it's not moving. But here's the interesting part. Eric's been showing it to the same couple 3 times in the last month." "What couple?" "A Mr. and Mrs. Johnson from Boston. Except there's no record of any Johnsons matching their description in the Boston area. I think Eric's been using fake clients to justify multiple visits to the property. So he and Jenna could spend time there without anyone getting suspicious. That's my theory. I also ran a background check on Dorsey, like you requested. The guy's got more red flags than a communist parade." Webb emails me a comprehensive report on Eric's business and personal history. It makes for fascinating reading. 3 failed partnerships, 2 previous affairs that ended badly, a pattern of using his real estate access to conduct personal business. But the most interesting detail is buried on page 4. Eric's been negotiating with his ex-wife Tina about their property settlement. Specifically, he's been trying to convince her to accept the Hartford house as part of her share of their assets. I call Tina immediately. "He wants to give you the Hartford house." "He's been pushing it for weeks," she confirms. "Says it's a good investment, that the market's going to turn around. But I know that house, it's overpriced and in a mediocre school district. I can't figure out why he wants me to take it." "Because he doesn't want to own it when your divorce is finalized. If you take the house, he gets to keep other assets that are more liquid." "But why does he care about that particular property?" "Because he's been using it as a love nest with my wife, and I think they're planning to buy it together once both our divorces are final." Tina is quiet for a long moment. "Nathan, I think it's time we stopped playing defense." "What do you have in mind?" "Eric's hosting an open house this Sunday. Big property in Brookline, lots of potential buyers. What if some of those buyers happen to be people who know about his extracurricular activities?" "You want to ambush him at work?" "I want to destroy his professional reputation. A real estate agent who can't be trusted in his personal life can't be trusted with the biggest purchase most people ever make." I think about it for exactly 3 seconds. "I'm in." "Good, because I've already invited some friends who might be interested in sharing their opinions about Eric's character." Wednesday evening, Jenna announces another late meeting. "Client dinner," she says, checking her reflection in the hallway mirror. "New company that's interested in our training services." She's wearing the dress Eric bought her in Hartford and the Tiffany bracelet Tina told me about. Her makeup is perfect, her hair styled like she's going to a red carpet event instead of a business dinner. What kind of company? Tech startup. They're expanding rapidly and need help with HR infrastructure. Sounds promising. Where are you meeting them? That new place in the North End, Sorellina. Sorellina is one of the most expensive restaurants in Boston, the kind of place where appetizers cost $40 and the wine list reads like a mortgage payment. Fancy. They're trying to impress us. Big potential contract. After she leaves, I call Sean. Feel like doing me a favor tonight? What kind of favor? The kind that involves expensive cocktails and a front row seat to my wife making a fool of herself. I'm listening. An hour later, Sean and I are sitting at the bar at Sorellina, nursing $20 whiskeys and watching Jenna and Eric at a corner table. They're not even pretending it's a business dinner. Eric's hand is on her thigh under the table, and they're sharing dessert like teenagers on a first date. That's her? Sean asks. That's her. And the guy? Eric Dorsey, real estate agent, amateur home wrecker, soon to be unemployed. Sean studies them for a few more minutes. They look pretty cozy for business associates. That's because they're planning to run away together to Connecticut and take my daughter with them. Not without me, Sean says, raising his glass. To inventive payback. To creative revenge. We finish our drinks and leave before Jenna spots us, but not before Sean takes a few photos with his phone. Insurance, he calls it. Thursday morning, I get a call from Patricia Vance. I've prepared the divorce papers, she says. We can file as early as tomorrow if you're ready. I'm ready, but I want to wait until after Sunday. Why Sunday? Because that's when Eric's open house is scheduled, and I want him to be completely destroyed before Jenna realizes what's happening to her. Nathan, I have to advise you to be careful. If you do anything that could be construed as harassment or intimidation, I'm not going to touch him. I'm just going to make sure the right people know what kind of man they're dealing with. What right people? Everyone. Sunday morning arrives gray and drizzly, typical New England weather that matches my mood perfectly. I'm sitting in my truck outside 47 Chestnut Hill Avenue at 11:45 a.m., 15 minutes before Eric's open house is scheduled to begin. The property is a colonial mansion that probably costs more than most people make in a decade, exactly the kind of listing that attracts serious buyers with serious money, the kind of buyers who don't appreciate being lied to. Tina pulls up behind me in her BMW, followed by 3 cars I don't recognize. She gets out and walks over to my truck, looking like she's dressed for a business meeting, which in a way she is. Ready for this? She asks. More than ready. Who'd you bring? My sister Janet, who's actually looking for a house in this price range. My neighbor Carol, who knows everyone in Brookline. And my friend Michelle, who happens to be married to the managing partner at Eric's real estate firm. I whistle appreciatively. You don't mess around. When you're going to destroy someone's career, you might as well do it efficiently. At exactly noon, Eric's Range Rover pulls into the driveway. He's wearing his standard uniform, expensive suit, perfect hair, that practiced smile that's supposed to inspire confidence. He unlocks the front door and begins setting up his materials, brochures, sign-in sheets, business cards arranged on a folding table. The first legitimate buyers arrive at 12:10, a young couple with a baby stroller, clearly out of their price range but probably curious about the neighborhood. Eric greets them with professional enthusiasm, launching into his standard sales pitch about location, investment potential, and market trends. Tina and her crew arrive at 12:15. Good afternoon, Eric says, his smile faltering slightly when he recognizes Tina. I didn't expect to see you here. Janet's looking for something in this area, Tina replies smoothly. And you know how much I trust your professional judgment? Eric recovers quickly, extending his hand to Janet. Eric Dorsey, Pinnacle Realty. Let me show you what makes this property special. I enter the house at 12:20, signing the guest book with my real name and phone number. Eric's face goes pale when he sees my signature, but he's trapped by the presence of other buyers. He can't make a scene without looking unprofessional. Nathan, he says, his voice carefully controlled. I didn't know you were in the market for a new home. Always looking at investment opportunities, I reply. You never know when circumstances might change. The next 20 minutes are a masterclass in psychological warfare. Eric tries to conduct his normal sales presentation while simultaneously managing 3 separate threats to his reputation. Tina asks pointed questions about his track record. Her friend Michelle mentions that her husband has been hearing interesting stories about some of the agents at Pinnacle. Janet loudly wonders if real estate agents are required to disclose personal conflicts of interest. But the final blow comes when Carol begins speaking to the other buyers. "I'm sorry, but I have to ask," she says to the young couple. "Are you comfortable working with an agent who's currently cheating on his wife?" The husband looks confused. "Excuse me?" "Eric's been having an affair with a married woman from our neighborhood. They've been meeting at hotels, taking weekend trips together. I just think buyers should know what kind of person they're dealing with." Eric's professional composure finally cracks. "That's completely inappropriate. These are serious buyers trying to view a property." "And they deserve to know if their agent can be trusted," Carol continues. "If he'll lie to his own wife, what makes you think he'll be honest about a house inspection or market value?" The young couple exchanges glances and heads for the door. "We'll be in touch," the husband says, but his tone suggests they won't be. Michelle pulls out her phone. "I should probably call my husband. He'll want to know that one of his agents is conducting personal business during open houses." "This is harassment," Eric says, his voice rising. "I'm going to call the police." "Please do," Tina says calmly. "I'd love to explain to them how you've been using company properties to conduct an extramarital affair. I have photos, if they're interested." That's my cue. I pull out my own phone and start showing the remaining buyers pictures from the Hartford weekend. Eric and Jenna entering the hotel together, shopping together, embracing in the lobby like newlyweds. "This is the married woman he's been seeing," I explain to anyone who'll listen. "My wife. They've been planning to move to Connecticut together and take my 8-year-old daughter with them." An older woman who's been quietly examining the kitchen fixtures looks up sharply. "He's trying to break up your family?" "Among other things. They've been using his access to real estate properties for their personal meetings, including that house in Hartford they visited last weekend." Eric makes a desperate attempt to regain control. "These people are clearly disturbed. I'm going to have to ask you all to leave." "Actually," says a new voice from the doorway, "I think we'd like to hear more." I turn to see Marcus Webb entering the house, followed by 2 people I don't recognize, a man in his 50s wearing a suit that screams lawyer, and a woman with a press badge hanging from her neck. "Mr. Dorsey," the man says, "I'm James Morrison, senior partner at Morrison, Klein & Associates. We represent Pinnacle Realty. I think we need to talk." Eric's face goes from pale to green. "Mr. Morrison, I can explain." "I'm sure you can, but not here and not in front of potential clients." The woman with the press badge steps forward. "I'm Sarah Chen from the Boston Herald. We're doing a story about ethics in the real estate industry. Would you care to comment on allegations that you've been using company properties for personal affairs?" Eric looks around the room like a trapped animal. Every exit is blocked, every face is hostile. His perfect professional image is crumbling in real time, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. This is all a misunderstanding," he stammers. "Is it a misunderstanding that you're married?" Tina asks. "Is it a misunderstanding that you've been meeting my wife at hotels?" I add. "Is it a misunderstanding that you used company time and resources to facilitate an extramarital affair?" Morrison asks. Eric's phone buzzes, then buzzes again, then starts ringing continuously as word spreads through his professional network. "I need to take this," he says, fleeing toward the back of the house. Morrison turns to address the remaining buyers. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this disruption. Obviously, Mr. Dorsey will no longer be representing this property or any other Pinnacle listings." The reporter is taking notes furiously. "Can you confirm that Pinnacle is terminating Mr. Dorsey's employment?" "I can confirm that we take ethical violations very seriously and that appropriate action will be taken." Tina leans over to me. "I think our work here is done." We file out of the house, leaving Eric to face the consequences alone. In the driveway, Morrison approaches me. "Mr. Blackwell, I want you to know that Pinnacle had no knowledge of Mr. Dorsey's inappropriate behavior. We'll be conducting a full investigation and taking corrective action." "I appreciate that. I just want to make sure other families don't go through what mine has." "Understood. And if you're ever in the market for real estate services, I'd be happy to recommend one of our more ethical agents." As we're getting into our cars, my phone rings. It's Jenna. "Nathan, where are you?" "Running errands. Why?" "Eric just called me. He's very upset about something. He said some people were harassing him at work." "That's terrible. What kind of harassment?" "I don't know. He was almost crying. He said his boss showed up and there were reporters and... Nathan, I think someone knows about us." I let that hang in the air for a moment. "Knows what about you?" "About our arrangement, about Eric and me." "How would anyone know about that?" "I don't know, but Eric says his career might be ruined. He might lose his job." "Jenna, maybe you should come home. We need to talk." "I'm already on my way." I hang up and look at Tina, who's been listening to my side of the conversation. Phase 1 complete, she says. Phase 1? Eric's career is destroyed. Now we destroy their relationship. How? By making sure Jenna knows exactly what kind of man she's been risking her family for. Tina hands me another manila folder. Eric's been cheating on me for years, remember? Jenna's not his first affair, and she won't be his last. I think she deserves to know that. I open the folder and find photos, receipts, and documented evidence of Eric's other relationships. At least 3 different women over the past 2 years, all conducted the same way. Hotel meetings, expensive dinners, promises of a future together. He has a type, Tina observes. Married women, professional careers, unhappy at home. He tells them all the same lies. Does Jenna know about the others? Not yet, but she's about to. 20 minutes later, I'm sitting in my kitchen when Jenna bursts through the front door. Her face is flushed, her hair disheveled, her perfect composure completely shattered. Nathan, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Someone's been following Eric, taking pictures. They showed up at his open house today and humiliated him in front of clients and his boss. I set down my coffee cup and look at her with what I hope is appropriate concern. That sounds serious. Any idea who would do something like that? It has to be his ex-wife. She's been trying to destroy him in their divorce. Maybe you should stay away from him for a while, until this blows over. I can't abandon him now. He needs my support. Jenna, think about what you're saying. This man's personal drama is affecting your life, your reputation, your family. Is he really worth that risk? She starts pacing around the kitchen like a caged animal. You don't understand. What Eric and I have, it's real. It's not just physical. We're planning a future together. What kind of future? We're going to get divorced, both of us, and start over. There's this house in Hartford that would be perfect for us and Zoe. I nod like I'm hearing this for the first time. You've been planning to take Zoe to Connecticut? Eventually. The schools are better there, and Eric knows the area really well. Jenna, sit down. There's something you need to see. I pull out Tina's folder and spread the contents across the kitchen table. Photos of Eric with other women, hotel receipts dating back 2 years, love letters written in the same style as the texts I found in Jenna's desk. What is this? She asks, but her voice is already changing. Evidence that you're not the first married woman Eric's convinced to leave her family, and you won't be the last. She picks up a photo of Eric kissing a brunette outside a downtown restaurant. The timestamp shows it was taken 6 months ago. This could be anyone, she says, but she's studying the image carefully. Look at the next one. It's a hotel receipt for the same weekend Jenna thought Eric was visiting his sick mother in New Hampshire. She flips through the rest of the documents in silence, her face growing paler with each revelation. Finally, she looks up at me. How long have you known? About Eric's pattern with other women? I just found out today. About you and Eric? I've known since the night you gave me that PowerPoint presentation. You've known for weeks? I've known for weeks. She stares at me like she's seeing a stranger. Why didn't you say anything? Because I wanted to see how far you'd go, how much you were willing to sacrifice for a man who's been lying to you from the beginning. Jenna looks down at the photos again, and I can see her whole world reshaping itself. The future she'd been planning, the lies she'd been telling herself, the justifications she'd constructed, all of it crumbling like a house built on sand. Nathan, she says quietly, what happens now? I reach into my jacket pocket and pull out the divorce papers Patricia prepared. Now you get exactly what you asked for. The divorce papers hit the kitchen table with a sound like a judge's gavel. Jenna stares at them for a long moment, her face cycling through emotions I haven't seen since the day we found out she was pregnant with Zoe. You're divorcing me? You divorced us the day you decided to plan a future with another man. I'm just making it official. She picks up the papers with shaking hands, scanning the legal language that's about to reshape both our lives. Nathan, we can work this out. What Eric and I had, it's over. After seeing these photos, I know he was using me. Just like you were using me. That's not fair, isn't it? You manipulated me into signing that open marriage agreement so you could feel better about cheating. You involved our daughter in your lies. You were planning to take her to Connecticut without my consent. Jenna's face crumples. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far, and now we both have to live with the consequences. She flips to the custody section of the divorce papers, and I watch her realize what she's about to lose. You're asking for full custody? Primary custody, with supervised visitation for you, at least initially. You can't take Zoe away from me. I'm not taking her away. You gave her away when you chose Eric over your family. The front door opens, and Zoe comes running into the kitchen, still wearing her soccer uniform from practice at Callie's house. She stops short when she sees her mother crying at the kitchen table. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Jenna wipes her eyes quickly. "Nothing, sweetie. Mommy's just having a hard day." "Are you sick?" "No, baby, I'm not sick." Zoe looks between us, her 8-year-old instincts picking up on the tension she doesn't understand. "Daddy, why does Mommy look sad?" Sometimes grown-ups have difficult conversations, I tell her. "Why don't you go upstairs and get cleaned up? I'll make dinner in a few minutes." After Zoe disappears upstairs, Jenna turns back to me. "We can't do this to her. She needs both her parents." She does need both her parents. But she needs parents who tell her the truth and put her needs first. I do put her needs first. Do you? Because when you were planning your new life in Connecticut, did you ask Zoe what she wanted? Did you consider how changing schools and leaving her friends would affect her? Jenna doesn't answer, which is answer enough. My phone buzzes with a text from Tina. "Eric just showed up at my house. He's completely falling apart. Wants to work things out now that his career is destroyed." I show Jenna the message. "Looks like your boyfriend is having second thoughts about leaving his wife." "He's not my boyfriend anymore." "Good. Because according to his employment contract, which Tina was kind enough to share with me, Eric's being terminated for cause. No severance, no references, and possible legal action for misuse of company resources." Jenna stares at me like she's never seen me before. "You planned all this." I documented everything and let the truth speak for itself. Eric destroyed his own career by conducting personal business on company time. "But you orchestrated it. The open house, the photos, getting his boss involved." I made sure the right people knew what kind of man they were dealing with. She's quiet for a long moment, processing the scope of what's happened. "What about me? Are you going to destroy my career too?" "That depends on you." "What do you mean?" I pull out another folder, this one containing screenshots of Jenna's text messages, photos of her hotel meetings with Eric, and documentation of the lies she's told over the past month. "Your HR director position involves overseeing employee conduct and ethics training, right? How do you think your boss would react to evidence that you've been conducting an extramarital affair on company time? Using company resources to facilitate personal relationships?" Her face goes white. "You wouldn't." "I don't want to. But if you fight me on custody, if you try to drag this divorce out, if you do anything that hurts Zoe more than she's already going to be hurt, then yes, I'll make sure your employer knows exactly what kind of ethics you practice in your personal life." That's blackmail. That's consequences. You made choices, Jenna. Adult choices that affect other people. Now you get to live with the results. Upstairs, I can hear Zoe moving around in her room, probably changing clothes and wondering why her parents were having such a serious conversation. In a few minutes, I'll have to go up there and figure out how to explain that her world is about to change in ways she can't understand yet. "What do you want from me?" Jenna asks quietly. I want you to sign the divorce papers without a fight. I want you to agree to the custody arrangement. And I want you to help me figure out how to tell our daughter that her parents are getting divorced without making her feel like it's her fault. And if I do all that, then your career stays intact, and you get to be part of Zoe's life on weekends and holidays. You get to rebuild your relationship with her based on honesty instead of lies." Jenna looks around the kitchen, at the family photos on the refrigerator, the artwork Zoe made in school that we've hung on the walls, the coffee mug she bought me last Father's Day that says, "World's Best Dad." "I really messed up, didn't I?" "Yeah, you really did. I thought I could have everything, my family and my freedom. I thought I could control the situation." "You thought you could manipulate everyone around you to get what you wanted. But life doesn't work that way." She picks up a pen from the counter and stares at it for a long moment. "If I sign these papers, what happens to Eric? Eric's not your problem anymore. He's Tina's problem, and from what I understand, she's going to make sure he pays for every lie he's told and every dollar he's wasted on his affairs. He really was cheating on me the whole time. According to Tina's evidence, yes. You were just the latest in a long line of married women he convinced to risk everything for him." Jenna laughs bitterly. "I threw away my marriage for a man who was planning to throw me away too." "Probably." She signs the divorce papers slowly, her signature looking nothing like the confident flourish she used on the open marriage agreement a month ago. "What do I tell people?" she asks. "My friends, my family, people at work?" "You tell them we grew apart and decided to divorce amicably. You don't mention Eric unless you want everyone to know you're the kind of person who breaks up families." "And Eric?" "Eric's going to be too busy dealing with his own problems to worry about your reputation." As if summoned by our conversation, my phone rings. It's Tina. Nathan, you need to hear this. Eric just offered to reconcile with me. Says his affair with Jenna was a temporary lapse in judgment, and that he wants to work on our marriage. What did you tell him? I told him to check his email. I just sent him copies of all the evidence I've been gathering for the past 6 months. Photos, financial records, documentation of his other affairs. By tomorrow morning, he'll be served with divorce papers that are going to cost him everything. Everything? The house, half his business assets, alimony, and a reputation so damaged he'll never work in real estate again. I've also forwarded all the evidence to the state licensing board. They take ethics violations very seriously. I look at Jenna, who's been listening to my side of the conversation. Sounds like Eric's about to discover what consequences look like. After I hang up, Jenna and I sit in silence for a few minutes. Upstairs, Zoe is singing to herself, probably playing with her dolls, blissfully unaware that her parents' marriage just officially ended. How do we tell her? Jenna asks. Together, tonight. We explain that sometimes parents can't live together anymore, but that we both love her, and that's never going to change. Will you let me see her on weekends? As long as you're honest with her from now on. No more lies, no more manipulation, no more putting your personal drama ahead of her needs. I can do that. Good. Because if you can't, I'll make sure the custody arrangement becomes permanent. Jenna nods, understanding that this is her last chance to be a real mother to Zoe. Nathan? Yeah? I'm sorry. For all of it. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't undo the damage. No, it doesn't. At 6:30, we call Zoe downstairs and sit her down in the living room. She curls up between us on the couch, sensing that something important is about to happen. Sweetie, I begin, Mommy and Daddy need to tell you something. Are we moving? She asks. No, we're not moving, but things are going to change around here. I explain divorce in terms an 8-year-old can understand. Sometimes parents stop being happy together, but they never stop loving their children. She'll live with me most of the time, but she'll still see Mommy regularly. It's not her fault, and it doesn't mean we love her any less. Zoe listens carefully, asking the kinds of questions that break your heart. Will she have 2 bedrooms now? Will we still have family movie nights? Will Mommy still help with her homework? We'll figure all of that out together, Jenna tells her, and for the first time in weeks, I hear genuine emotion in her voice instead of calculated manipulation. After we put Zoe to bed, Jenna packs a suitcase and prepares to move in with Callie temporarily. At the front door, she turns back to me one last time. For what it's worth, you handled this better than I deserved. I handled it the way Zoe deserved. You're going to be a great single dad. I'm going to be the same dad I've always been, just without the lies. She nods and walks out to her car. I watch her drive away, probably for the last time as my wife. Inside, the house feels different, quieter, but also cleaner somehow, like the air has been cleared after a long storm. My phone buzzes with one final text from Tina. Eric's packing his things, says he's leaving Boston. Apparently his reputation here is beyond repair. I type back, good riddance. Drinks tomorrow to celebrate? Rain check. I have a daughter to take care of. You're a good man, Nathan Blackwell. I pour myself one last beer and sit on my front porch, looking out at Maple Street. Tomorrow the neighbors will start talking. Within a week, everyone will know that Jenna and I are getting divorced. Some of them will take sides, some will offer sympathy, and some will just be grateful for the entertainment. But tonight, it's just me and Zoe in our house, and that feels exactly right. Inside, I can hear her talking to her stuffed animals, probably processing the evening's conversation in the way children do. Tomorrow, we'll start figuring out our new normal. We'll establish new routines, new traditions, new ways of being a family. And for the first time in months, I'm actually looking forward to the future. The game is over, and I won. But more importantly, Zoe won. She gets to grow up with a father who tells her the truth and a mother who's hopefully learned that actions have consequences. Next time someone wants to play games with my family, I'll be ready. After all, I'm the one who writes the rules now.